she can go to hell.
Former President Trump's running mate has harsh words for Vice President Kamala Harris amid controversy over Trump's visit to Arlington National Cemetery this week. And Israel's military launches a massive incursion into the West Bank as concerns grow over a broadening war. The Morning Rundown starts now.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world. This is the Morning Rundown.
Today is Thursday, August 29th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lauren Taylor. Controversy on the campaign trail after former President Donald Trump's visit to Arlington National Cemetery earlier this week, marking 3 years since the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan. Two Trump campaign officials had a verbal and physical altercation with a cemetery official during Monday's ceremony, honoring the 13 U.S. military service members killed in a bombing at Kabul's airport in 2021, according to NPR. Sources with knowledge of the incident told multiple news outlets the former president's campaign had been warned not to take any pictures or videos in the area known as Section 60, but they did so anyway. Section 60 is the part of the cemetery dedicated to military personnel killed while fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq. Cemetery officials released a statement confirming an incident had occurred and a report had been filed, but did not give details about what happened. Late Tuesday night, Trump posted a photo on his Truth Social platform of the Gold Star families who had invited him to the ceremony. In the post, family members said they had invited the campaign to film in Section 60. However, that wasn't their call to make. Federal law prohibits political campaign or election-related activities within Army National Military cemeteries. Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, touched on the incident during a rally in Pennsylvania Wednesday, dismissing the allegations and blasting Trump's Democratic opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris, for how the Biden administration handled the withdrawal from Afghanistan.
3 years ago, 13 brave, innocent Americans died, and they died because Kamala Harris refused to do her job, and there hasn't been a single investigation or a single firing. I don't, look, sometimes mistakes happen. That's just the nature of government, the nature of military service. But to have those 13 Americans lose their lives and not fire a single person is disgraceful. Kamala Harris is disgraceful. And she wants to yell at Donald Trump because he showed up. She can go to hell.
The Harris campaign has declined to comment on Vance's remarks, as well as the reports of an altercation at Arlington. Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, will take part in their first joint interview since their campaign together began. This interview marks Harris's first formal sit-down as the 2024 Democratic presidential candidate and comes at a critical time as she faces criticism for her lack of media engagement. Since President Biden withdrew from the race and endorsed her, Harris has been criticized for not participating in interviews or holding press conferences. Their interview with CNN's Dana Bash comes as the Harris campaign kicks off a bus tour of swing state Georgia. It will air at 9 tonight Eastern Time. The Israeli military launched its largest incursion into the occupied West Bank in decades on Wednesday. At least 10 Palestinian militants were killed in what the IDF described as a counterterrorism operation. Hundreds of Israeli troops took part in the overnight raids, targeting Palestinian militants after months of increasing attacks. These raids have raised concerns about the potential for the Israel-Hamas war to escalate further. The IDF's international spokesperson said in a briefing, Israel had identified a, quote, systematic strategy in Iran of smuggling weapons and explosives into the West Bank. The United Nations Secretary General is calling on Israel to immediately end the operation in the West Bank, saying it's, quote, fueling an already explosive situation in the occupied West Bank and further undermining the Palestinian Authority. The Supreme Court declined to reinstate the Biden administration's latest student debt cancellation plan, leaving millions of borrowers in limbo as legal challenges continue. The justices turned down a request from the Justice Department to lift an appeals order blocking the SAVE plan, an income-driven repayment program designed to lower monthly payments and offer earlier loan forgiveness. The SAVE plan is part of President Biden's broader effort to reduce the financial burden on about 43 million Americans with student debt. It comes after a previous plan, which aimed to cancel over $400 billion in loans, was struck down by the Supreme Court last year. The plan's estimated cost has been a point of contention, with critics arguing it effectively forgives loans without proper authorization. Crowdstrike is offering $60 million in credits to customers impacted by a massive software outage earlier this year, but the true cost of the incident might be much higher. Delta Airlines, the most affected client, claims it lost around $500 million due to the outage, which disrupted flights and operations. Despite these challenges, Crowdstrike reported a strong quarter with $260.8 million in adjusted earnings, a 47% increase from last year. However, the company has revised its full-year earnings forecast downward, reflecting the expected cost of customer compensation. Moody's downgraded Crowdstrike's outlook from positive to neutral, raising concerns about the company's ability to retain customer trust after the incident. Finally this morning, NASA's Perseverance rover has set off on a road trip of sorts across Mars. The rover's been wandering the red planet's Jezero crater since 2021. So far, it's found evidence of ancient flash floods and collected several rock samples, which NASA plans to bring back to Earth on a future mission. Now the rover is expected to spend the next few months making a steep climb up to the western rim of the crater. Scientists believe the 28-mile-wide crater was once home to a river delta, and they're hoping samples taken by Perseverance will help them piece together an idea of what Mars's climate was like billions of years ago and whether it sustained life. These are your top stories for this Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, I'm Lauren Taylor. Have a great day.